Welcome to SHOFAR, huh? Praise be to God. Welcome to his presence. Praise be to God. We're just going to go straight to the word. So I'm going to ask all you radical Hebrews that's carrying around your constitutions for heaven, your Bill of Rights that tells you all that you're about, because you're kingdom people. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you're kingdom people, we're going to speak from the book from heaven. God has given us a word as he's been preparing us for this season of transition. How many of you guys are going through transitions? Oh, wait. How many of you guys have been moaning these transitions? Pobrecito. Come on up. We're going to anoint her with oil. I'd like to try to talk to you this evening about those seasons of transition. God would have us to get a little keener insight into that season as he takes us into the book of Joshua. So if you want, I'd like for you to, as we prepare to go there, why don't you take your books and turn with me to the book of Joshua, the book of Joshua, chapter 3. Joshua, chapter 3. I don't know about you, but I have been blessed as God has been doing some incredible things with me through this study. So we're going to kind of pick up where we left off, because this has been an ordained book that God wanted us to go through, for he says it's going to equip us for our next season. Tonight, again, I want to speak in terms of it's a season of transitions, life transitions. The title of tonight's study is When the Training Wheels Come Off. Let me say that one more time. The title of tonight's study is When the Training Wheels Come Off. I know that's not a good title for going through transitions.
No.
But it's true. You know, life's transitions can be very challenging. God will have us to know that. This season that we're in, the season of transition, can be very challenging and unnerving as such, because that's what the children of Israel found themselves in as well. But we find this time can be very challenging and unnerving, whether it's planned or unexpected. You know, sometimes you can plan things out to cause our lives to go through these transitions where we can turn around and say, I'm planning on getting married. It's a planned transition. Or you starting a new job, or you're giving birth. Or some people are going away to college. Some are moving to new cities. All those things are just planned transitions, things that we know that we're in a season of landing again. But then I know that there's sometimes the transitions can be unexpected. They can fall upon us, or it can be, we can have accidents in our life. There's an accident, something traumatic happened that kind of threw us for a ride. It wasn't something I expected to do, but now things have changed. It could be a death in the family. It could be a job loss. Or we could have a serious illness. Things are unexpected, but they cause us to go to various different changes, transitions in our life. Planned or unexpected. The hard thing about transitions, one thing that throws us, is that they force us to let go of the familiar and face the future feeling vulnerable, helpless, kind of out of sorts. Made me think sometimes I think when I think about it, maybe think, you ever see a child when it first comes out of the womb? When the baby first comes out of its womb, it has spent its whole life in a space about this big. It's a master of contortion. It lays balled up inside the womb, inside an embryo sac that's filled with water. He's all tight. He's in a position where it's the perfect temperature. There's no breezes. He don't have to get up for lunch or breakfast because he's served breakfast and stomach. Everything comes to him like this. I know about these feelings because my daughter is forever reminding me of it. Because we'll come out, she says, I was doing just fine, all up in like this. And she said, all of a sudden, they pop me out into this world. And you can always see the child because, they're like this. And what do you do when you come into a world this big? They're like this. I mean, you're going from this to nothing, and the hands are like this, and the eyes are looking around. And she says, I was minding my own business, and he did like this, and he grabbed me by my feet and minding my own business. Slap. And the baby, the scream. You talk about a season of transition from the womb to the world. So what they do, in order to mitigate the transition, they're taking to wrap them into a blanket, real tight. So to make the transition from the womb to the world. And then it's always undoing the blanket so the baby can feel the new environment. But they force us to go through, a transition makes us go through, makes us let go of the familiar. That's the big thing, and face the future, feeling vulnerable and helpless. But why? Why is that? Why do we feel so vulnerable and helpless? Because we live in a culture that has taught us to be very uncomfortable with uncertainty. We have been trained where if we cannot control things, we cannot manage everything. It's a situation where I feel out of control because I can't control it. We live in a culture that has taught us this way, to be very uncomfortable in uncertainty. So we become worried and anxious, filled with gore. There's a feeling, I spoke last week about two kinds of fear. One was, you guys remember that? One was yare. It's a reverential fear. Oh, that's what Rahab had. She had a fear, but it wasn't a fear like boogeyman's fear. It was a fear that brought her into reverence and proper knowledge. Then the other fear was this fear called gur. And this fear called gur is where you find, it says when you go to define it, it'll make you timid. It makes you want to run, shrink back, or make somebody want to flee. That fear, that gur can take over us. When we get into that season at times, filled with the fear of gur, because we want to flight, we want to run. I don't know what's wrong, because our lives are disrupted. But these seasons of transition, when we get like this, see, the enemy will come in during the season of transition and becomes a satanic strategy to fill you with fear. Why? I was sharing with my wife, and she gave me a very keen insight to it. So I'm going to share it with you. I thought it was good. Because I said, the enemy will do that because he wants to steal your shalom. She says, it's more than that. She said, he'll come and fill you with fear because he wants to steal your future. I said, that's true. And that's the biggest truth. Because when you go to understand, when you go into the season of transition, you understand them. That's exactly what he's trying to do. He wants you to stay stagnant. He wants you to stay where you're at. He don't want you to go any further. He wants to control you. It's a satanic strategy to fill you with fear so that you don't go forward. He wants to steal your future. But see, what God would have us to know is that this, and this is what I thought was interesting. These seasons of transitions that we go through, God would have us to know that life itself is a continuing process of transitions. Our life is nothing more but beginnings and endings. I heard someone say it so well when they said, life is a collection of seasons. We're either coming or going. We're getting older, we're getting younger. We're stepping in the house and not stepping in the house. I'm getting into the tub, I'm getting out of the tub. I'm transitioning all the time. I'm doing this. I'm going to school, I'm coming from work. I'm going through things. I'm not the same, I'm not static. But I don't see life as that. I just see life as, I don't want change. Just let me stay here and just keep doing the same thing. God says, life itself is a continuing process of transitions, the beginning and the endings. If we view it from God's perspective, life's transitions can give us a chance to learn more about our strengths and to explore who we really are and what we really want out of life. Sometimes you get stuck in a position and you become very passive. There's more to you that you'll never know unless you're confronted with an issue. There's things that's about you that you don't even know that you have. There's giftings that God has placed within inside you that you'll never see until the situation presents itself. And you'll think like, if I had stayed there, then I probably would never known that I could do this. If I hadn't moved, they were content to let me stay on that little assembly line and do this all my life, but I didn't know inside me was an entrepreneurial spirit that God had made something inside me to own the company, not work on the line. So the enemy would love for me to stay there. Don't change anything. Just stay there because you're no threat. But then God would come in because it's all about maturing. And he will say, from my perspective, from God's perspective, life transitions give us a chance to learn about our strengths that are inside, but we may not see them, and to explore who we really are. And what we really want out of life. He said, going through the season of transitions is like, once you move from one position to another position, it's like removing life's clutter. What do you mean? I shared this illustration before, but I think it's a powerful truth. What's the name of remember the name of that movie about the chess player? Searching for Bobby Fischer, I think it's what. And there's a powerful scene in which this chess master was teaching this prodigy. This kid was brilliant. He was teaching him how to understand the nature of the game. So the kid could play it instinctively, but when you get the master next to you, who's going to try to hone the skill so that you become very apt with it, he taught him how to count ahead, watching plays. You don't just focus on the one. Look at the whole board, and he's deciphering everything, one straight move. So the kid was looking at the chess at the board with the guy, and the guy looked at him and says, where are you, or how far are you thinking? He says something like there's a checkmate before him. And the kid says, I can't see it. He says, it's right there before you. I think he said, it's like 8 moves or 5 moves out, but it's there. And he's thinking, he said, look at the board. It's there right before you. You can see it. Think out and give he looked at the board and said, I'm like, I can't see it. And the guy said, here, let me help you. Knocked everything off the board. Now, where's it at? And the kid looked at all the pieces fall on the floor. The guy knocked all the stuff out of the way. He said, you're too close. Look. And the kid said, he stopped. Just looked back at the board. And all of a sudden looked up and said, I see it. He said, that's what God does to us. He said, sometimes we get ourselves in a rut. We get ourselves in a position. They said, you're so close that you think you see everything God's going to say. Sometimes you need to clear the board so you can see who you really are. He said, I need you to sense. He said, sometimes you need to clear the clutter, and it results in a sense of self-renewal, a sense of stability, and a new sense of balance. You guys say, oh, you're getting over simplistic with this. You don't know what I'm going through. But the fact of the matter, the bottom line is this. God wants you to know that you're not going through this alone. You're not going through this alone. That's what he finds out in that scripture text that says Jeremiah 29:11. You guys should grab a hold of that scripture text, Jeremiah 29:11. What's it say?
I know the plans.
Ah, wow. That's that passage. He says, I know the plans I have for you. That piece, when you go through the transition, sometimes you feel like that child. You're like this, and God says, I know what I have for you. Then he says this. I love this translation when it says this. He says, I love the way that it says this way. It says, I know well my designs I created in you. The thoughts of God, the God thoughts that's in you, not of evil. God thoughts, how I think. My thoughts are only of good. The God thoughts to bring you a destiny and a hope. See, sometimes we can hear a passage over and over and over again. It says, I know plans you have for you, the thought of good, not for evil. And God says, no. They're not good thoughts. They're God thoughts. I am not. God says, my thoughts are such that's beyond your comprehension. My ways are so high, boy. What the things I have for you, they're godly, God thoughts. So, with that, do you know what is the pride of every parent? Everyone has kids. You know, the pride of every parent is to see their kids grow up. That's what we want to see. That's the desire, is when you see a child become a person. I remember my mom said something one time that I thought was very funny. She looked at me and she said, here I'm working at the bank, and my sister's working down at she's working down in Florida in fashion, and my brother's a carpenter and stuff. I mean, but we were all, I told you a lot of stories about our family. We were like baby kids, running around doing everything. But now as we get grown, she sits in the house and she looked at me and she says, and she just threw it out just really quickly. And she's, something you ponder and gets over simplistic. She said, it's funny when you see your kids become people. And I stopped and I kind of stuck, and she said, I knew what she meant. When you see your kids become people, she's thinking like, I go to the bank and you're the banker. If I go down to try to, I got a son who's working like a law enforcement. Now, he's the man. The people that are around become your kids. And I said, I kind of laughed at her. I thought it was funny. I said, but that's good. I'm going to hold on to that. When your kids become people, that's what God wants. Where did I get that? Where did I get that title out in the middle of all this? Melissa has been the source of so many of my studies, my illustrations. So here you go again. I got another for you. Where it comes from is when I studies when the training wheels come off. That's how to ride a bike.
Oh, she mic'd you. She turned you down.
It's no big. No, in fact, she was content with those. She had a bike. We got a nice little bike. She had a little basket in front. She used to come down the driveway and she'd run around the block. I mean, she'd ride around in front of the yard. We wouldn't let her go out of our sight. Around the yard and stuff. This is last week. This is when we did this. No, she was very small. But when I did it, she was content until she went in town and seen her cousins. And when she came in town, and then one of her schoolmates come by, and they're riding a bike with no training wheels. And she was content with the bike. And they come whipping by. So she wants to ride with those like that. Okay, we can do this. So I'm going to take it down. And I first got my screwdriver and removed the wheels and stuff and took it down the hill. I'm holding it like this and saying, okay, here we go. I'm riding, she's pedaling, I'm walking around right beside her, and she's just going. And then I let loose the handlebars. And she's like, nonsense joke. And then she goes, I'm like, wait, okay, it's okay. Okay, let's get back up. Let's try again. Get her back up. And we try to run her down. And now I back off and I'm holding on to the seat. And she's She's got the steering wheel like this, and I'm holding her to the seat right behind her. I'm running inside her, and she's got this. I said, okay, here we go, here we go. I let her go. And she goes, boom. She got further. And I'm like, oh, I can run, I can run. Yes, you can, babe, you can do it. I can do it. Yes, you can. You know, she's our worst critic. We all are our worst critics. She's going, you know, she just, okay. Let's breathe. Okay, come on. Yes, you can. Okay. Let's sit on the curb, and just lay back. Just lay back and just relax. Look back and just look at the star. Look up at the clouds. And she looked at them and said, and she's breathing. Then we just start kind of talking. Start talking about what the clouds look like and how smooth they are. Start getting our focus and stuff again. And we were just talking. I looked at her next time and says, you ready to try it again? I can do it. I know you can do it. Okay, here we go. Pick her up. Here we go. And I'm running right beside her. And she just pedaling. Someone about to do it. And I go, take my hands off. And she goes, zzz, and she goes around the corner. I'm like, hey, where you go? And I'm running down the block and here she had turned the corner. And I get to the corner, I look up, and there she is. And she's got a big old smile. And because now it's my turn. I got to take my turning wheels off. Look at her going. And she comes on the corner, and then she comes back around, and she got the hang of it. Oh, she loves that bike now. Now, the season of transition trend happened. She started taking off, and I'm holding these two little training wheels, looking back at them, remembering when. I look up, and she's take off down the corner, and I'm like this. See? I said, but you know, it's what you want. You want to see your kids grow up. You want to see them get better. Mm-hmm. We come to Joshua, chapter 3. And that's where we want to pick up today. I want to read the chapter. I'm going to come back and share with you what's going on with this. If everyone got the chapter, let's read it. I'll say this. Joshua chapter 3. Joshua got up early in the morning and they left Shechem and went to the Jordan with all the people of Israel. And they camped there before crossing. After 3 days, the elders circulated through the camp and gave the people these orders. When you see the ark for the covenant of Adonai your God and the Kohanim, or the priests, who are the Levites carrying it, you are to leave your position and follow. But keep a distance between yourselves and of it about 1,000 yards, and don't come any closer so that you will understand which way to go, because you haven't gone this way before. And Joshua said to the people, consecrate yourselves, because tomorrow Adonai is going to work wonders among you. Then Joshua said to the priest, take the Ark of the Covenant, go ahead of the people. They took the Ark of the Covenant and they went ahead of the people. And Adonai, or God, said to Joshua, starting today, I will make you great in full view of all Israel, so that they will know that just as I was with Moshe, I will be with you. You are to order the priests carrying the Ark for the covenant as follows. When you come to the edge of the Jordan, you are to stop in the Jordan itself. And Joshua said to the people of Israel, come and listen to the words of Adonai your God. Then Joshua said, here's how you will know that the living God is here with you, and that without fail he will drive out before you the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Hivites, the Perizzites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Jebusites. He says, and the ark for the covenant of the Lord of all the earth is going to go ahead of you across the Jordan. Now choose yourselves 12 men out of the tribes of Israel, one for each tribe. And as soon as the priests carrying the ark of Adonai, the Lord of all the earth, they put the soles of their feet in the water of the Jordan, the water of the Jordan will be cut off upstream and stand piled up like an embankment. So the people left their tents to cross the Jordan, and the priests carrying the ark for the covenant of God ahead of the people. And when those carrying the ark had come to the Jordan, and the priests carrying the ark had waded into the water for throughout the harvest season, the Jordan overflows its banks. The water upstream stood piled up like an embankment for a great distance all the way to the city of Adam. So the water flowing downstream toward the sea, the Dead Sea, was completely cut off, and the people crossed over right by Jericho. The priests carrying the ark for the covenant of God stood fast on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan, while all Israel crossed on dry ground until the entire nation had finished crossing the Jordan. Wow. God had been preparing the children for 40 years for this moment. He had brought the parents there 40 years earlier with the same desire to take them across into the promised land. He reached down to try to remove, because he had been with them, guided them, led them, fed them, brought them out of Egypt with a mighty strong arm. He said, now that they come up to Jordan, this is the first group. And God wanted to take off the training wheels and say, okay, I brought you this far, go ahead and go across. But they wouldn't allow them. Because of unbelief, they wouldn't allow him. So he'd come around this whole distance again. 40 years later, now God has took them full circle, and he's been preparing them between Moshe and Aaron and all the things with the wilderness to bring them up for this moment. He's been bringing them up to Jordan for this moment. And now he begins to remove the training wheels, because he's looking for them to be mature just as he expected. So to pick up where we left off, could you imagine, as Joshua got up early in the morning, the spies have returned, those two spies we talked about during our last study, have returned and give Joshua the good report. They told him about what Rahab had said. They filled him in on what they saw in the city. They told him how God had put a spirit of gore, fear, way before the people and filled the land. Then he told them, as Rahab stood in that city, she let them down, about her faithfulness and where it stood, how she guided them up into the hills till they come back. With that report, Joshua was ready, and he stood listening. So as we open up this chapter, it says he gets up early in the morning. Now, again, as we go in text, God's not dropping words in here just to dropping words. He could say Joshua got up and started to go across Jordan. Why did he put it in there early? When he starts saying, giving times, he's telling you something. He's telling us something. Because every Hebrew, or in the mindset of them, you can go back in Scripture and you can find where it be Abraham. You can find where it be the prophets. You can find where it be Yeshua. You talk about that early rising as they come in. It said, when Joshua woke up early, he knew, he had the report, and he knew where he was going. He laid in that bed, he was just like a pop bottle, shook up. When they get their report, it's like taking a Pepsi bottle, shaking up with the lid. All they need to do is just pop that lid, ready to go. That's what he was like. He came back, and God had already told him, he says, he has a strategy for him. He's going to take him. He's coming in here, and what rising early in the morning is a Hebrew idiom that lets him know that he is full. He's full of embracing Hineni. He's ready to get up. He's ready to move. He's ready to obey. He's not sitting around. He's not quivering. He's like, Now that's what you have. Anita wakes up like that. I just now realize I'm talking about how he was so pumped. I'm laying in bed now, it takes me a little bit. I'm stretching, trying to rub my eyes and look blinking. She's sitting in bed like this, and she's got her mind is already targeted. She'll lay in bed, she'll pop open. What are you going to do today? We got to pick up this, and she's ready to run. I'm like, wait. She said, I'm ready to go. She pop, ready to run. She has a spirit of inane all over her. Joshua woke up like this, and he's ready to go. So when it says this, it's letting me know, it speaks in terms of a zealousness of obedience to God and carrying out his command. He's ready to run with this assignment. It displays a very strong character trait. It speaks of faithfulness, a total embracing of Hineni. Lord, here am I. Speak and I'll move. So he tells these people to get up, and he tells them after 3 days, we're going to cross the Jordan. And then he tells them, the people says, I love this when he says, when you see the ark for the covenant of Yad and I, Karen, they are supposed to follow the ark. My question comes into him and says this. Now, why would he have to do that? Why would he ask them the question? Or why is it necessary to ask them, say, when you see the ark, follow it? Why, if they get the ark, you think the people would get up and just start following it. Why was it necessary for him to tell them to follow the ark? This is one of those times where you go through a season of transition. It's big time. See, because up to now, all these people is here. The only thing that they would follow would have been the cloud and the fire. It would have been the pillar of fire by night. The cloud by day would have been their guiding factor to know of Adonai's presence. As God would move, they would get up and they said, when the cloud moved, they would pack up, ready to go, to follow. But see how they come to this point? He says, and now there's going to be no more cloud and no more fire. This whole nation had come up, that's all they know for 40 years is following the cloud by day, the fire by night. If the clouds stay, they stay. If the cloud move, they get up and they move. They know just when to do. You wouldn't have to tell them to move because from Moshe on to Joshua, everyone knew when that cloud moves, you move. Now, as they prepare and God starts backing them off, getting them ready for this next season in their life, and he starts pulling off the little wheels a little bit, let them stand on their own selves. Because this nation, as it's starting to mature and getting ready to walk to the promised land, he tells them to look up above, and for what has been familiar, they hold on to things that they've had all along, know when to move, and it's gone. You got millions of people standing here, and they look up, and there's no cloud. That was the living presence, or that was a visible presence of Yahweh, God following them. Now there's no presence. And Joshua's telling them, now when you see the ark. What do you mean the ark? What's going on with the ark? What happened to the cloud? Oh my gosh. Like the baby. Oh no. We'll come off, and God's trying got them right before the Jordan, and the Jordan's flooded over. Right across the Jordan, they see the towering walls of Jericho. Everything they knew and everything that they were familiar with up to this point, boom, changed. And unlike Samson, you remember that story of Samson? When Samson knew, he talked about his locks. He said if his hair is shaved, he would lose his strength. But he dabbled and dabbled and dabbled and dabbled. They said the time when it came in, he dabbled so much that when he laid on Delilah's lap, this time when she took his hair, they said he got up and shook himself like time before, but he didn't know the presence of God had left him. And he walked out. These guys weren't like Samson. It wasn't nothing about shaking. When they looked up, they knew God wasn't there. Things had changed. Big time. This was an extreme paradigm shift. Very unsettling. I mean, babies were born. Look at that. All the ones left were used to this. Now they were told the ark itself is going to represent God's presence. So then the elders, it says, the elders went throughout the camp and started explaining to the people how to prepare themselves. He told them, it says, you are to lead. He says, when you see it, he says, but keep your distance from the ark 1,000 yards away, which is almost equivalent to a Sabbath day journey. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. They were telling them what to do and how to follow. So the elders were going through the camp for two specific reasons. One reason, explain this new reality. They had to explain it to the people. This is not word of mouth. This is big time. Explain this new reality so the people would know how to respond. What we're going to do next. And then the next thing was to share with them when they spoke to them. These are the leaders who are coming to them, speaking to them to settle any doubt and to remove any fear. So that the spirit of Gur wouldn't take hold of them, get them shaken so much. They were set in a season where this transition was happening quick before them. Joshua tells them, he says, you are to keep a distance. What do you mean by that? Why would keep? What's important about the distance? Because the ark, just like God told them before, he says, Joshua told them, he says, the presence of God is going to come down. What you saw up here, he said, God's going to do something big in front of us now. Bigger than you can see. In fact, he took them and gave them somewhat of deja vu. They remember when they came to Sinai, to the mountain, and Moses said, when God comes down, he's going to do something big. I need you to sanctify yourself, consecrate yourself, get ready, because God's about ready to come down. Deja vu hits them. The ones that were young can remember. Parents and guys talking about, don't draw a line, don't even come near it. So what happens is there's a spirit of fear, of not Gur, a spirit of Yareh, a spirit of reverential awe, the spirit that comes over the people, that when God says that they understand common from uncommon, when the people speak, we're in a whole new paradigm. God's presence is among us, but he's taking us to a whole nother level. There's a distance that has to be established because he's an uncommon God. There's a reverential awe that fills the camp now as they go to prepare their hearts and soul and get ready for this next season. See, God can take us through a season. That's what he's talking about in his house now. And there can be a distorted uneasiness because the familiar has been shifted. Uncertainty can take hold. And the enemy can keep you right in sitting in the camp, right among you, to have you try to do things quickly. Shift, run. He's going to try to dislodge you from crossing the Jordan. You've been set up for this. You've been preparing this. God says, he says, I know the thoughts I have for you. They're God thoughts. He says, you've been set up and you've been trying to get, and you've been complacent or you can be content. He says, but that I got more for you than what you're seeing before you. You're content because you don't want to go through the trouble. You're content because you don't want to shake the wave. You're content because you don't know what's all in you. You rather just hold on to the surety of saying, at least ways, I can go back fishing because I know how to fish. And God's going to say, no. Where your resource and where your promised land and where all the elements that I have prepared you for this hour. I didn't prepare you for this hour to sit behind a tool and die and keep tapping. There's much more in you than what you're seeing. This can be fearful, guys. This can be wonderful. God's going to try to say, but you're not in this alone. You've been at this way before. Sanctify yourself and prepare because he's going to do a big thing. In fact, he says so big. You know what he tells them? He tells them, follow the ark. Now that was another big paradigm shift. That's another transition thing that happened in mine. Why? Because they had the ark before. They had the artisans who made it. They carried it whenever the cloud moved. They knew where the ark was supposed to be at. You know where the ark was supposed to be at? The ark was always carried by the Levites in the middle of the camp. So the nation would be all surrounded beside it as they would move. No one would touch it, and the Levites would stay in cord. The priest, Aaron, and all the priests and stuff, they would lead out before. But it wasn't the priests that carried it, it was the Levites. God trying to say something else. The ark moves from the middle to the front. And not the Levites touch it. I want the main ones, the priest, get a hold of it. And the priest lift it up. And the priest starts walking out before the people, leading them. Now, where everyone was comfortable to know how I stood, and if I had front row seat next to the Shekinah or next to the ark, close ranks. Because now, even the way I'm walking has been shifted. The seasons are changing. But as I move, even the ark, now what I thought was just back here where Moses was to go to get dialogue, is now it's going to do something totally different because it's moving from back here to way out front, and we're following it. As you follow it, he says, keep the distance. Watch the ground. Keep it at a distance. Keep it at, not up close, but put it out further enough before all the people. So the people watch a cloud remove. Watch ark shift. Watch the elders take place. See that the leaders themselves, these are the priests and Joshua, the main warriors, start going toward the front. And then God tells something to Joshua right in the midst of it. As he starts going and everyone starts following in line, he tells them, he says, I'm going to, this day, I'm going to magnify you before the people so that they will know, just like I was with Moses, I'm going to be with you. Now, one of the biggest of all the miracles Moshe had done, when it came to, we spoke about this before, when we came out of Egypt, with all those 10 plagues and things, is that Egypt looked like a battle zone. But whenever people start talking about Moses, one of the very first things that come to mind is when he opened up that sea. When all people come there, Pharaoh's army is barreling down before them, and they stood there, and he said, when that sea opened up, Moshe stood there and he put out that rod, and that sea opened up, that flame dropped down behind him. And when Pharaoh's army, when that flame moved back up and they showed that that sea was open, they said Pharaoh's army, they go, whoa, the big old gate will go right down beside him. See? Big miracle for Moshe. So God said, just like I was with Moshe, I'm going to be with you. So now he's going to take Joshua, and they're about ready to see deja vu. Joshua speaks at them prophetically. He lets them know. He tells them, send the priests out ahead, Joshua to the people. Come and listen to the words of Adonai. Here's how you're going to know that the living God is here with you, and that he will not fail you or to drive out the people before you. As soon as the Kohanim, as soon as the priests carrying the ark of the Lord of all the earth put their soles of their feet in the water of the Jordan will be cut off upstream and downstream. I've seen something here that I didn't see for years. I taught the story over and over. And I always taught it that the priest, as they would lead the way, came there. They stood their feet out and they stepped out and that water receded. And they go, water backed off. I read the text afresh. It said the priest had to wade out into the water. Then swim. It said they stepped into the water. The soles of their feet got into the water. The people ain't got there yet. As the priest walked, it said, as soon as because Scripture says they waded into the Jordan. As they waded into Jordan, then the Jordan backed up off of them. What does that tell me? See, a lot of times we turn around and say, God, I see the situation is difficult. Can you take it away before it even happens? God, you know what's going to happen. Stop everything. God says no. Sometimes he'll allow you to wade into the situation. As they stepped into the situation because he says he had a bigger plan for them. I liked it too. It said when they came to the Jordan was at its zenith. It said the water had run down to the Jordan, that every spring like this time, it would overflood. This particular one flooded it more than ever before. It overflowed the banks way more than it ever done before. It's interesting how God would take the people and he takes them to the Jordan when it's at its deepest and most dangerous time that they're to cross. He could have waited a couple more months and let things back off and dry up, but he says, no, I need you to go, and I want you to go right now. And now they start walking to the Jordan. All these people, they're watching this water here, and they can see that it's not looking swimmable. You know, sometimes it's easy to talk strong faith. You know, when you sit on the mountaintop of things are going pretty good for you. You can talk about how big God is, how wonderful he is, and how much he blesses. You know, he's a wonderful, prosperous God. Because you got a job and your things are paid for and you're doing well. Lose it. Lose your health. Lose a loved one. Someone walk up to you and try and say, well, he's a big, I don't want to hear that right now. You know, your emotions get up inside you. He says, but when you know that you know that you know. It said when he walked up to that Jordan, it made me think about the Hebrew children in Israel, in Babylon. You know, you watch Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I heard the scripture text that says this in Philippians. It says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things. Let me say that one time. I think you guys got that. Faith is a substance. Faith, if I have strong faith, of things I'm on a hope for. It's evidenced by things that are. To walk through that Jordan when that river was like that, I can't see it. But as you walk there, I can see when Nebuchadnezzar, they talked about them, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I told them boys to turn and say, bow down. It's in the book of Daniel. Let me read this story. Shall I read that? I think you guys know that story, huh? Should I read it, or can I just tell you what it says? Okay. I'm going to tell you that. All right. I'm going to tell you what it says, but I'm going to let you know it's in Daniel, the 3rd chapter. So you guys can go there and read it. Daniel, 3rd chapter, verse 16. And they skip down that passage. But what says this? He told them, he says, did you not know that when I made that statue, as soon as you heard the sound of the flutes, you're supposed to bow down and worship me? And they said they would not. They could not. He knew that these men were powerful men that had the Spirit of God within them. There's not a desire to destroy them. So he doesn't give them a little time to think about it. You think about it because when the next time it plays, I'm going to give you another chance to bow down. And the boys had a spirit of Adonai. And so we don't need no time to think about it. We'll let you know right now before they even start playing. The music plays, we're not going to bow down and serve him. And say, whether our God saves us or doesn't save us, doesn't make a difference. That's a done deal. If he saves us, all glory to him. If not, all glory to him. But we will not bow down to serve you. And he said Nebuchadnezzar got furious. He had one of those kind of, you get so mad, just that kind of, just so mad he told them to heat the furnace. It's bad enough you're going to burn them up. I want them burn, burn them, because he said it before everyone. Burn them. They heat it up even more. Heat up so much, you're not even thinking. You get this anger on you, you don't even think. Burn them and throw them in. It said the fire was so hot, they opened the door and burned up everyone around it. Burnt the soldiers trying to throw them in there because no one had no time to think. It burnt them and they threw them in. So he's standing back. I can probably see him sitting on top, high perch, looking down at a point where the heat probably can just glow at him, but he's looking down from a distance. And that stuns him. Because he's looking, trying to, he don't know if he's daydreaming or not. Did we? They said, what is a king? Wait, hold on a second. Did we not throw in 3 guys in that furnace? Yes, sir. Yes, we did. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Yeah, we burned them up, and they got the 5 other guys out here, and they burn up with them stuff. Yeah, but wait. I see 1, 2, 3 walking free. And there's a 4th one. And the 4th one looked like a son of God. Walking among them. Not only they burned, they said they're walking and talking. And they thought they heard a sound from inside the flames. Because Nebuchadnezzar leaned forward and he could have sworn he heard him say, hallelujah. And he said, what was that? Hallelujah. He said, I think that's... Well, I think that was on passage. So that's inspired me 13. See, the children made a comment, just like Daniel when going in line. See, it's one thing to talk strong when things are going good. But when there's no evidence of things seen and you're still strong in your faith, you're still strong in the wall. The wall doesn't waver because it has nothing to do with what the seen circumstances. It's that the things aren't even seen. I know that he's God, whether in the flame or in the earth. He is God of all. I don't need time to think about it. We will not serve an idol. God takes them to the Jordan, and not a one is wavering, because the one who guided them by the cloud, the one that had fed them, he popped off the training wheels, and these boys are moving. They're walking to the Jordan. The priests step into the water, even to the point where they're not even fearful, thinking like, disciples on the boat saying, Lord, we drowned. He said, no, but the priest stood inside because everyone's firm that he that is able to begin a good work is able to see it through completion. As they step into the water itself starts backing itself off. As the water starts backing up toward the city of Adam. Do you know the city of Adam was about 20 miles away? To have about 2 million people come across there, they can't come across like we do on 235. We're not talking about single file. We're talking about millions of people going across. Historians estimate that the passage through the Jordan coming through would have been somewhere between 2 to 3 miles wide. With everyone packed. So the Jordan itself would have backed up about at least 3 miles, let's say 3 miles wide of dry ground, because when they start coming across, only thing the people on the walls of Jericho said is dust coming up. And when they stand there, I love that part where it said, Rahab would have told them, when they came, but the spies came back, she said, fear has left you. We heard what happened in Egypt. We heard about how your God ravished Egypt. When you came across, she said, we heard how that Red Sea opened up and parted and stood up. Then we heard how you guys walked through and those two kings, Sihon and Og, came out and they were nothing. With what we heard, she says, the spirit of every man has left him. When they look out and see, they said they are fearful. So I can see all these men up on that Jericho wall. What they heard is one thing. When they stood at Jericho wall watching, and that water said, that's an understatement. It's one thing to stand up there, front row seat, with a spear in your hand or a bow, getting ready to go after the enemy, and you watch nature itself obey and starts backing up and starts standing up. It said it didn't say the Jordan dried up. It said it stood up. It said it stood up. It said, what did I say here in my notes? I'm saying, I love this because I started laughing inside my study. I said, what they witnessed on the wall, if they thought they had the spirit of gore, a spirit of flight, a spirit of fear before, when the Jordan stood up, the city wasn't flooded with water. Like the Jordan was flooded, the whole city was flooded with fear. Could you imagine? What is all that saying to us? What's it going? God says those children of Israel come through this, one of the most difficult transition periods they have. A time when all the visible signs were disappearing from them. Everything they had about them was things that was placed inside them. They knew that God says, I've given you the land. I'm going to, you have a land flowing with milk and honey. When you step in the Jordan, don't you worry about the Jordan. I've already taken care of that piece too. So when they walked before, none was flinching. When that water moved, everything's still moving. So it's like when God turned them, as they start stepping through, and they had the ark. Why was the ark sitting out so far ahead? Because there's so many of them. You ever been in a theater that you can't see because somebody gets their head in the way? God said, put it out there far enough. Because when the people come, everyone had a clear view that it was God that was leading the way. As they come walking through, and that water stood up, things were dry. They weren't even focusing on Jericho. They weren't focusing on land. All they were seeing the majesty of him. What is God telling us? He says, you guys ain't seen nothing yet. He says, what I have for you. As we go through these times and we're getting set up, we're just set up perfect for it. God is saying again, no, you're not in this alone. Again, he said, I know the plans I have for you. I have God thoughts for you. He's maturing us for this season. He's taking off the wheels. I'm on the bike now, You should see when God called me into this walk, into this call. He says, I used to tell Anita at the time, I said, I don't know, does shofar have legs? What I meant by that was, can it stand outside itself? Because it was not the design to do this. But God says, I have a work that I need to shake something in this Midwest. I have a means. And so what he did, when I stepped out of that bank, and I'm watching 401ks, retirement, things. And I'm stepping into a season where graves starting to show on my temples. And I got people there looking at me trying to say, are you sure? And I'm like, oh yeah, because God says. And they got this, are you sure? And I go out. I mean, I have a number of them, a number. Because I give them, give them months. Plenty of time for the enemy to echo over and over. Are you sure? Can you trust him? Why don't you do both? Can you alter the plan? You're not getting younger. Are you sure? And I walked up to the Jordan. And I was starting to step out, and I'm thinking like, God, am I? And I heard him just as clear. Because I had my appendix ruptured. It's supposed to have been dead. As I sat moving forward, I heard him say just clear, why do you think I got you up? And I said, he says, I was thinking, but God, I'm in a position now, I can touch so many lives. Vice President, marketing, I can do this. And just think of all the context and source. And God told me, says, you can touch more lives on this side than you'll ever touch on that side. And I'm like, then he says, you will not lose in this. And I said, okay. But God, what happened? You trust me. You've known all along ministry was an integral part of your life. You've known it. You want to shout from accountability. You want to hold on to all the certainty. He says, but I'm going to do something in you that's going to take your faith to a whole nother level. You're going to feel destiny. I got a purpose inside you, man. You're going to migrate through this season of transition to a season of stability like you've never seen before. Because the earth is mine and the fullness thereof. It's all mine. I'm the one who turns the hearts of kings. I'm the one who changes, who raises people, gives you favor. He said, I've been preparing you for this season all along. It's not your call. Now, you can be like the children of Israel, and you can go to the Jordan, and you can mumble and grumble, and you can cast doubt, or you can be filled with the spirit of a Hineni, and you can hear my voice in Shammai, to know that whether I keep you in this or not, that's irrelevant. Are you going to hear me? And can you obey? Because you were fearfully and wonderfully made. I didn't make you to be a banker for life. Just like I didn't put Moshe in the palace for life. The bank is nothing more but a training ground to prepare you for the bigger thing. He says, as you're coming right now, every step, he said, I have been preparing you for this season. He says, because, just like I told Abraham, the iniquity of the Amorites was not yet full. He said, your season was not yet full, but right now I need you. Because you know what I said? When he was saying this stuff, I told him, God, in the middle of it, I'll do anything. I had planned on God. I know ministry was an integral part of my life. I know that. But God, you know what I was planning on doing? I was planning on staying at the bank until I retire. I can set things up and I won't be as stressful to you. I won't be a burden to no one. I can I can get things all, in line and stuff. I said, I knew that. See, once I retired, and I got, Social Security coming in and stuff, I'll be 65 years old. I can go ahead and step out on the marketplace and I can go ahead and do this and be effective. And God says, I don't want your residue. I need you now. And I'm like, what? It made sense to me. I don't need your leftovers. Why do you think I got you up? I need you now. And so he brought me to the Jordan, and the Jordan was flooded. He allowed me to step into the water and wade and migrate through the other transitions as he's preparing me for this season. And as I continue on, I stood in this car right now. And you know what he's done? He placed my heart in trance says, I look up and say, oh, okay. So only thing I can do now, God, is get me a little building and have us. I can do the church as usual. God says, you're not a church. I thought you said I was going to minister. I didn't say that. You said that. But God, I thought you said, no, you trying to hear what you want to hear. That's not what I said. I got enough churches. I didn't call you for that. Okay. Then I'll call the synagogue. I got enough synagogues. I called that. They're doing a good work. I'm talking to you. But what made me think about Jesus and Peter. What difference does it make to do with him? What does that got to do with you? Okay. I have something to do here that's going to be unique in itself, Matt. If you can hear me and let go of everything that's familiar, fight through all the uncertainty, and trust me, I'm going to do something that's going to rock this nation. Something's going to come up out of this Midwest that's going to affect the Midwest. Not Des Moines, not Clyde, not just Des Moines, not just Clyde, not Johnston, not Ankeny, not Des Moines proper, not even Perry, all those. He said, we'll come up out of the state, and we're going to state to state to state, because I got someone already on the west side, someone on the north side, got someone down south. I need you in the middle, because when they all come up, we're going to do a work, because we're a part of an integral end-time harvest. And I need you now. So we're wading through all the water. He's given us prayer focuses. He told me, he says, I'm preparing you for lunch. I'm thinking like, oh God, I can just get a little room and we can preach to our heart's content. You call it what you want. Your room has got to encompass the vision I give you. That's hard. I can't find it. Noah couldn't find the animals either. I brought them to him. You just do as I say. Everything else will come in play. Because I already created a man out there with the vase on his head at the well. So your place is just to come to Jordan and get ready to take this team, because we're going into the promised land. We're going. Now, that wasn't on my notes, but let me see what I got there. He has been maturing us for this season. I know from now, from everything I've been experienced, my prayer life and my study has changed incredibly. Everything is deepened. I realize now, during this season of transition, his goal has been to realign and resync my time, my life, in preparation to enter this promised land. Everything. I said I need to think like him. I need to be synced like this. I want to be able to be so aligned with his times. That's like my carnal thoughts, like I would think for the 4th of July. Am I on? As I think for the 4th of July, I would think the same way about him. And I know that to be true. The rethinking of this time is imperative. It's incredible. It is needful in this hour. And just like what he done with my time, I know that's what he's having us do with his time. I keep on talking about these covenant graces and the cyclical blessings being in God's times, getting us all set up for the bigness of what he's going to do. It is imperative, it's important that we all understand that we've got to get our lives back in sync with his times. I'm going to ask a question, just out of curiosity. No, we keep calendars out there on the table out here. How many of you guys have a calendar? How many of you guys don't have calendars? Be honest. Because you don't have a calendar, I'm going to give you one. Who don't have a calendar? Who? Come on. Anyone who doesn't have a calendar, it's imperative that everyone gets in line. I want to make sure everyone gets a calendar. Everyone got calendars. It's so imperative. It's so important. How many got someone they're witnessing to that can use a calendar? Give them a calendar. I don't want the calendar to sit on your shelf. I want you to put that in the hands of someone that you're talking to. There's another one in the back, Salvador. As we journey forth from this place, from this time, the knowledge and understanding of covenant, the knowledge and understanding of his calendar, his times, as we realign and resync, is imperative. Because although we stayed in the world and we lived off a Gregorian calendar for years, we found ourselves out of sync with God's times. And now God is saying that he's going to heal brokenness in our financial lives, in our home life, in our spirit life, in our prayer life, in our family life, linking things that we've been operating like a car out of sync, making things up in the gap, getting mad at God because we're not aligned because we don't know. But God has taken us to another level that he says as we go through this season of transition, his whole purpose is to ensure. His bottom line is that he's removing training wheels. And now we find ourselves getting much more stable. I'm not leaning on the crutches. He's getting me strong. He's removing excuses. And he's getting me ready for the greatest blessing that I've ever seen for my life. Amen? They came out of that promised land with grapes bigger as basketballs. They walked out there and they're trying to carry the stuff out like this. God says, when we get realigned and we get ourselves focused, we're going to find ourselves in such a way where hidden treasures, the lost children, the families, the illnesses. I like what Nita said because it's true. He said he's in a season of restoration, of redeeming, and preparing us for the great things. He's preparing for the future. Amen? He took these children, he walked them through a season transition. God wanted us to know we're not alone in this, that he's walking us through. Amen? Amen.